What is up? Welcome back to Project Freelance. How's it going, everybody? My name is Kay Anagonio, and I am here to talk to you about freelancing. Whether you are a filmmaker, a photographer, a musician, if you are a life coach, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter where you come from. All that matters is that you are here now and you are listening to the Project Freelance podcast. I am so excited to share with you guys the story of the time that I got to photograph my first ever rocket launch, which was the Sentinel-6A Michael Freilich satellite, which launched on November 21st, 2020. So that was last Saturday. If you are listening to this podcast the day it comes out, which is Monday, November 30th, 2020. This year is almost over, but wait, I gotta slow down for a second. Before we get into this podcast, we have a few housekeeping things. If you're new to Project Freelance, first of all, I would like to welcome you to the show. This podcast is all about freelancing, whether you are an entrepreneur, you're an up-and-coming photographer, filmmaker, musician. I talk to all kinds of people on this podcast every single Monday at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you want to get the latest episodes, please be sure to hit that subscribe button for me. And if you like this episode at any time, please do me a favor and leave a rating and feedback, especially if you're on Apple Podcasts. That's how this podcast grows. I'm sure before you dove into this podcast, you saw some of the ratings and read some of the feedback, and that's what convinced you to listen to the show. So if you do the same thing, it will help the podcast grow in the iTunes charts. So thank you in advance for doing that. If you do leave a rating and feedback, please take a screenshot of it and send it to me at Project Freelance on Instagram or Twitter, and I will get in touch with you and I will actually send you a signed photograph from this rocket launch of the Falcon 9, the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. If you want a photo print of it, all you got to do is leave a rating and feedback and I will mail it out to you. That's my way of saying thank you guys for listening to this podcast continuously. If you would like to further support me, there are a few ways to do so. First of all, I've put a link down in the description to my print store where you can pick up photo prints of the rocket or of any of the other photos that I have available on my website for print. That helps me out a lot. I have a Patreon where you get early access to all my content, including this podcast, including my music, including my vlogs. Everything that I do, you guys get early access to it. And later today, if you're listening to this on Monday, the 30th of November, I am actually also going to be doing a live Zoom call with my Patreon supporters to show them all the music that I'll be putting out in December. I do this once a month with my Patreon supporters, and it's been so much fun. I've had a blast doing it. So if you want to join that Zoom call, it's going to be at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Please check it out. Please join the Patreon, support the content I'm creating so that I can continue to create amazing content for you. Another way you can support me is by picking up a case of liquid death water. And if you have never heard of liquid death water, hey, don't worry. I've got an ad coming for you in 3, 2, 1. From the streams of the Austrian Alps comes a new kind of water. A water that is sure to raise you from your grave. If you're tired of buying cases of plastic water bottles that contain carcinogens and God knows what else, or if you're trying to lower your waste footprint, Liquid Death comes in beautifully rugged aluminum cans. Murder your thirst with a can of Liquid Death. Check the link in the description and use code JustTheLetterK at checkout for 10% off your order. Liquid Death. Murder your thirst. So thank you for picking up a case of Liquid Death water. If you guys want a 10% discount, just use the code JustTheLetterK at checkout on liquiddeath.com and you will get a discount on your case of water. Some people have bought up to 20 cases of water, and for whoever did that last month, thank you so much. I do get commission off of those sales. So if you guys want to support me and you want to drink some really amazing canned water, definitely check out liquiddeath.com. So let's go back a little bit to March 2019. NASA made a tweet and they said, hey, we are looking for creators to come to NASA to go behind the scenes of NASA. And I got tagged in this tweet by one of my followers. Thank you so much for tagging me. I appreciate you guys doing that. If you're not following me on Twitter, please follow me on Twitter. I tweet things frequently. I have almost 20,000 tweets, which is crazy. I've been on Twitter since the beginning of Twitter. So yeah, go enjoy scrolling through my tweets if you like. But back in 2019 in March, on March 15th, I sent NASA a video. I sent them a message saying, hey, you should send me to a SpaceX rocket launch at NASA. Send me behind the scenes, because behind the scenes is what I do. This is my thing. I've gone behind the scenes for Alternative Press Magazine. I've gone behind the scenes of the X Games. I've gone behind the scenes of the UFC. NASA, send me behind the scenes of NASA so that I can capture content and tell everyone how amazing NASA is. So, a couple days later, I get an email from NASA saying, hey, we would like you to come out to NASA and explore. Would you like to come? And I said, hell yeah. So on April 3rd, I made a video called We Are Going to NASA. And in that video, I basically explained that NASA picked me out of all of the candidates to go to NASA with a group of, I think there were like 15 of us, 15 to 17 of us. There weren't very many people because the launch kept getting pushed. The dates kept changing. So there were only about 12 to 17 of us in the group, which was really cool. It was really intimate, and we had a ton of fun at NASA. So on April 29th, I headed to NASA, went out there, and I started making content, and it was so cool. So May 1st was the day. May 1st was the day that I posted my trip to NASA, my behind-the-scenes video to NASA. I'm going to show it on the screen for you guys if you want to check it out. It was absolutely incredible. I cannot express to you enough how amazing this trip was. It's like almost a 30-minute video of me going to Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral, Florida. And my goodness, you guys, we got to go to Pad 39A where the Apollos launched. We got to see the labs. We got to see the gateway, the NASA gateway, which is going to be orbiting the moon. It's going to be like a pass-through for astronauts to go from space to the moon. It's absolutely insane. So if you guys want to check that out, there is a link down in the description to watch the video, or you can just search Behind the Scenes of NASA, Just the Letter K on YouTube, or you can go to the Just the Letter K YouTube channel and scroll around and find it. But if you want an easy way to do it, there's a link down in the description with my Behind the Scenes of NASA video, so you guys can check that out. But it was absolutely amazing, and I was there for the CRS17 launch, and unfortunately, I was unavailable to see the actual launch because it got scrubbed, and I had to fly back home. But just a little bit of information about the CRS-17. It's also known as the SpaceX-17. It was a commercial resupply service mission to the International Space Station that launched aboard a Falcon 9 rocket on May 4th, 2019. The mission was contracted by NASA and was flown by SpaceX. A little bit of the history of the schedule. It was announced in February 2016 that NASA had awarded a contract extension to SpaceX for 5 CRS additional missions. As of June 2016, a NASA Inspector General report had this mission manifested for October 2018, but by January 2019, this had been pushed back to April. Due to Dragon 2 test anomaly on the 20th of April 2019, SpaceX needed to acquire a permit to allow landing on drone ship Of Course I Still Love You. It was stationed about 28 kilometers, which is like 17 miles downrange, to ensure the integrity of the area and preserve valuable information. So basically, this mission was to resupply the International Space Station, and I'm so sad I missed it. I'm so sad that I could not be there for it. The mission patch for this mission is absolutely incredible. I wish that had been my first one because it is such a cool mission patch. It's got the ISS. It's got satellites going on. It's so sick. Here it is. If you're watching this on the Just the Letter K YouTube channel, I'm putting an image of the mission patch on there. But other than getting to go behind the scenes of NASA, I also got to go free to Kennedy Space Center, which was really cool, and I wore my Spider-Man suit. If you didn't know, I also cosplay as Spider-Man because screw gender norms, honestly. Anybody can be Spider-Man. That's what Spider-Man says. That's what Stan Lee used to say, and so anybody can put on a mask and become Spider-Man. So I wore my Spider-Man suit to NASA. It was amazing. It was so much fun. I had an absolute blast there. And I felt like a kid in a candy store, honestly. But like I said, unfortunately, I missed out on that rocket launch. And so I had to just wait and hope for another one. But before I went out there, I actually did an episode of Project Freelance with space enthusiast and rocket photographer Eric Kuna to get some advice on how to photograph rockets. So he gave me some advice. If you guys want to listen to that episode, I have linked it below for you. It's amazing. If you are into rockets, if you want to start shooting rockets, you should absolutely listen to that episode. It is incredible. So with my knowledge of, launching rockets, which is very limited, but after doing that episode with Eric, I felt a little bit more confident in my skills to be able to photograph a rocket launch eventually. So, while I was at this NASA social event, I met a guy named Brandon who runs a blog called hoverslamspace.com. And Brandon was just starting out as a rocket photographer back then, and now he's done tons of rocket launch photography missions. He has done some remote camera setups. He's an absolutely incredible guy. I have also had him on the podcast. If you want to check him out, you should definitely do that. I've linked the episode that I did with him down below as well. Just linking a lot of things down below today for you guys. Hopefully I don't forget anything. Hopefully I get all the links correct. But if I miss anything, please let me know on Twitter. So anyway, Brandon and I stayed in touch, and mostly on Twitter we stayed in touch, which was, super cool way to talk to each other, and I could see his tweets, and then I could message him and be like, yo, this is sick, congratulations, keep doing what you're doing. And then one day he asked me if I would consider shooting for HoverSlam, and I said, dude, the first chance I get, I will absolutely photograph a rocket for HoverSlam Space. Absolutely. It's a dream of mine to photograph rockets, and I would love to work for SpaceX one day as a content creator, or NASA as a content creator. I think I would do a killer job. So if anybody works at SpaceX or NASA and they're listening to this podcast, yo, what's up? Hit me up. Let's get some work done. Let's get some content made for you guys. So fast forward to November. Well, actually, it was a couple months earlier. A couple months ago, I got hit up by Brandon, and he said, hey, so there's going to be a launch out in Vandenberg on the 8th of November. Do you want to cover it? And I said, yes, absolutely. I would love to cover it. I'll be there. Well, the mission got pushed to the 21st of November, and fortunately, I was still available. So I told him that I would head up to Vandenberg Air Force Base up in Lompoc, I don't really know how you pronounce it, to that area where Vandenberg Air Force Base is, to photograph my very first SpaceX rocket launch. If you guys didn't know, I actually have the Falcon 9 logo tattooed on my leg. I have a whole space-themed leg, covered in tattoos. And so I just recently got the Falcon 9 logo on my leg, so I'm super excited about that. I love how it turned out. It's so sick. Putting a picture of it on the screen for you guys to check it out. Wait until you see the rest of my leg that I'm going to get done. I'm so very excited. So, yeah, back to what I was talking about. So, on the 20th of November, I got in my car and I drove. First of all, I got in my car and I drove over to Sammy's Camera. Thank you. Shout out to Sammy's Camera. I rented a 200 to 600 millimeter telephoto camera lens, Sony mount, an E-mount lens, because I knew that a 70 to 200 wasn't going to cut it. It wasn't going to be enough for me to get good rocket photos. So I decided to rent a lens. It cost me $45, guys. So if you ever need to rent a lens, or if you ever think about acquiring a lens, why don't you just try renting it first? It's probably way cheaper than buying a $20,000 lens. So went to Sammy's, picked up my lens, drove 4 hours, sat in traffic for an hour and a half, and got up to Lompoc at about 7 p.m. on the 20th of November. I immediately, before I even got to my hotel, I stopped at a gas station to fill up on gas, and then I had to pee, but there was no restroom available, so I decided to pee on the side of the road because, that's what we do whenever it's nighttime and you gotta go. So, peed on the side of the road, got back in my car. I don't know why I'm sharing that information with you. I guess it's just because this is what we do as freelancers. You do what you gotta do when you gotta do it. So, got back in my car and drove out to Vandenberg Air Force Base. This was the closest I had ever been to an actual rocket, you guys. I was probably about half a mile, maybe 3/4 of a mile away from this rocket at the main fence gate. Well, I don't think it was the main gate, but like the back gate. Basically, there's a beach area where people usually watch rocket launches from. There's also like a metro train station there. And then there's a gate to Vandenberg. I think it's like the side entrance or the back entrance. Anyway, so it was completely pitch black. The Falcon 9 rocket was lit up by lights. I pulled out the camera, put the lens on, went up to the fence and snapped a couple photos. Here are the photos. Here's a photo that I took of the Falcon 9 rocket. Such a difficult photo to take because there was a little bit of wind, and so there's a little bit of like distortion in the image, so it's not perfectly sharp, which kind of bothers me, but I mean, you can only do so much. It's still a good photo of the rocket. So I stayed out there for about 15 minutes, and then the other people that were in the area, they left, and then all of a sudden I heard like 6 wild dogs barking and howling and coming towards me. So I was like, nope, I'm good. I'm out of here. So I packed up everything, got back in my car, went to my hotel, got some food, ate, and got ready, set my alarms, and watched Joe Rogan until I fell asleep. The next morning, I woke up at like 5:45 in the morning, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, super excited to photograph my first rocket launch. And come to find out, they closed all the roads to Vandenberg Air Force Base because of COVID. They didn't want people to congregate in areas because of COVID. So what did we do? We moved a mile away and congregated anyway on a dirt road by a farm. And fortunately, my friend Alex met up with me. We've been on road trips together. We've photographed so many things together. And Alex is a really good friend of mine. And he hadn't like really left his house during quarantine. So this was my first time seeing him since January. We went on a road trip up to Seattle together with our friend Vikers and another friend of ours. And if you guys want to check out the photos from that, I wrote a blog. I'll put a link in the description to that blog if you want to check it out. You can see my photos from my trip up through Oregon, up to Seattle. And then I went on tour with a band called Red Handed Denial and then came back down the coast. But anyway, so Alex and I met at a photo meetup in 2016, and we've been friends ever since. Super cool guy. So he and I posted up in between these two groups of cars. We tried to stay, separated from everybody else, and we successfully did. There wasn't anybody near us. We were about, 15 yards from the next car over, so we were pretty spread out, which is nice, especially because, there is a pandemic going on. So I set up my GoPro. I set up a DJI Osmo Pocket. I set up a 360 camera, which unfortunately recorded right up until the launch and then stopped recording. It recorded for 12 minutes and then stopped recording, and I'm so pissed about it because I could have had a 360 camera view of this rocket launching. But it's whatever. It's not a big deal. There will be more rocket launches in the future, especially now that I know that I can successfully photograph rocket launches. So, here we go. Counted down to the rocket launch. Wow. We had 3 minutes, then we had 2 minutes, and then all of a sudden Alex says, "There it is." And it popped up over the hill. And can I tell you, this was the most inspirational thing I had ever seen in my life. A rocket launching. Something that should be impossible, made possible by a bunch of very talented, very smart people. It was like watching Jesus come back. Like, I'm sorry if that is blasphemous or sacrilegious, but like, you guys, it was the most incredible thing I had ever witnessed in my life, like it was absolutely amazing. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of information about this thing that they launched. So it was called the Sentinel-6A. So it's about the size of a small pickup truck, and right now I'm reading from the nasa.gov website. About the size of a small pickup truck, Sentinel-6 Michael Freilich will play a central role in efforts to track sea level rise caused by climate change. What's more, the data that it collects on sea level variations near coastlines will provide information to support coastal management and with planning for floods, while its atmospheric measurements will enhance weather and hurricane forecasts. Sentinel-6 Michael Freilich is one of 2 identical satellites that are a part of the Sentinel-6 JASON-CX Continuity of Service mission, a U.S.-European collaboration. The mission is part of Copernicus, the European Union's Earth observation program managed by the European Commission. Continuing the legacy of the JASON series missions, Sentinel-6 JASON-CS will extend the records of sea level into their 4th decade, collecting accurate measurements of sea surface height for more than 90% of the world's oceans and providing crucial information for operational oceanography, marine meteorology, and climate studies. Sentinel-6 Michael Freilich's twin, Sentinel-6B, is scheduled to launch in 2025. So imagine if I get to also photograph that rocket launch. You guys, absolutely incredible. Holy crap, this experience was amazing. So I'm going to put the mission patch for the Sentinel-6 up on the screen now if you guys want to check it out. I will be getting this tattooed on my leg as the first mission that I have photographed. Super excited to get that done. And other than that, guys, I just am so grateful to HoverSlam Space and Brandon for letting me document this mission, for letting me document this journey that SpaceX is going on, that NASA is going on, that humanity is going through. An absolute honor to get to photograph one of these rocket launches. I'm so glad it didn't get scrubbed. A lot of times these things do get scrubbed. They get pushed for, technical difficulties, weather difficulties, other various reasons. But this one was the first launch at Vandenberg in a long time. So it was really special that I got to be there for it. I'm super grateful to HoverSlam Space, like I said. If you guys want to see the photos I took, well, you saw some on the screen, but if you want to see the rest of the photos, head to hoverslamspace.com. You can check out the Sentinel-6 mission, and you can check out the photos that I took. Thank you guys for listening to Project Freelance. This is my story. It's kind of a short one this week, but I hope you enjoyed the episode regardless. I will talk to you next Monday at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time with another episode of Project Freelance. I will be talking to a wedding planner and life coach. Super excited about that. If you want to be on an episode of Project Freelance and you're a freelancer, please hit me up at contact@justtheletterk.com, or you can find me at Project Freelance on Instagram or Twitter, and you can hit me up there. I would love to chat with you and bring you on the podcast. Whatever it is that you do, as long as you're a freelancer, I want to talk to you about how you built your business and get some tips for my audience here on the Project Freelance podcast. Thank you guys. Stay strong, keep enduring, go out and go create something. Also, get some liquid death water or check out some gear down in the description if you guys need photography gear or travel gear or anything like that. All right, guys. Talk to you soon.